Is there a problem? Why did
I'll tell you why we had to intervene. And I'll tell you why EI 144 came into being. And then the Brohaha and everything else, you know, and the distortions as well.
All right.
Now,
so tell us.
So after the grant of the lease, because the 1930, in fact, let me give you the specific, it's by Order 31 of 1930, dated July 17th, 1930, Cap 157, which constituted the land acquired in 1927 as a forest reserve for the purposes of fuel wood plantation for Achimota School. So because of this Cap 157, which legally designated that whole 479 hectares as a forest reserve, even though the part which doesn't form part of the Achimota Forest as we all know it or as currently constituted, forms part of the whole 479 acres which Cap 157 designates as a forest reserve, until and unless you amend Cap 157 to de-gazette this portion as no longer being a forest reserve, the Owoo family cannot have absolute or full title to the land. So they petitioned the government to request, and given this whole background, to request for the Cap 157 to be amended to reflect the fact that they've been given a lease, the portion of the land does not form part of Achimota Forest as currently constituted, and therefore it will cease to be a forest reserve so-called, even though it's not a forest. I mean, really, that part of the...
So let's understand. It's getting very complicated, but let's try and understand it. So Owoo family owned the land. Colonial authority takes it. Says that this land will be designated as forest reserve. Okay, so many years come, 1992 constitution comes, says where a land is taken from the compulsorily acquired from the owners and is not used for the purpose, it should revert to the owners. So Owoo family now want to invoke this constitutional provision. And then in 2007, they begin the process of petitioning. They come to the point where President Mahama agrees that the claim they are making that the portions of the land that does not be used for forest should revert to them. They were not paid compensation for the second acquisition, and they're also claiming the land back. They get the land back. Government gives them the land back. However, because the document covering the land says that it is to be used for forest, they cannot proceed to gain title over it because all forest lands are vested in the Forestry Commission and all that. So government must then come in to seek to, as it were, undo or deconstruct the 1930 Act, which said everything here is forest, so that the part that has been given to Owoo family can be accessed.
Absolutely. This is exactly what it is. Yeah, that you've cast it. And of course, so let me
give them the land under President Mahama, but the same government, they have to come back to government and say, you need to change the earlier law so that we can use the land.
To give legal effect, so that they can have absolute and full title. But you see, Paul, what it is also is that, so you then have EI 144. And for me, that's what settles the matter. And the matter before us, or the concern and the anxiety and the allegations and the agitations, all of it boil down to the singular issue that the Achimota Forest is being sold.
Yes.
Or that the Achimota Forest is being compromised.
Yes.
Now, there are two instruments in my hands which, for me, establish beyond reasonable doubt that the Achimota Forest is not being sold, is not being compromised, that on the contrary, the Achimota Forest is being preserved, and the plan is actually to develop the Achimota Forest into a true forest space for Accra in the likes of Hyde Park of London, Central Park of New York, and so on and so forth, which will serve Accra well and which will serve the Ghanaian people well and make Achimota Forest a better forest reserve. And these are the two instruments. You have EI 144, which is titled Executive Instrument, Forestization of Forest Reserve Instrument 2022. And this is the EI which amends the 1930 provision to declassify the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest as a forest reserve to give the Owoo family people title. And this is the EI. And interestingly, it's very interesting.
And this signed by President Akufo Addo?
Myself.
Okay.
And you have paragraph 1 of this EI 144, which is the land specified in the schedule to this instrument shall cease to be a forest reserve on the first day of May 2022, which is the peripheral portion. Then you come to paragraph 3, where we insisted on putting this provision with the intendment of preserving the Achimota Forest, because we didn't want any situation where the Achimota Forest can be compromised even through the back door, which is why we insisted. And this took a lot of debate and negotiations between the parties, but government insisted that this provision ought to be inserted into EI 144, which is the EI which is going to give comfort to the Owoo family. And that EI, Paul, is very instructive. And it states, it's actually titled, Protection of the Ecological Integrity of an Adjoining Forest Reserve.
This paragraph 3 of the
Paragraph 3. Paragraph 3:1 says, despite paragraph 1, a person shall not, A, take possession of, or B, carry out any physical development on the land specified in the schedule without the prior approval of the minister, in this case the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, acting on the recommendation of the Forestry Commission. 2, the minister shall not approve any development on the land specified in the schedule unless the minister is satisfied that the development, A, is in accordance with the master plan developed by the District Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority and approved by the minister, and B, does not, with emphasis, does not adversely affect the ecological integrity of an adjoining forest reserve. Does not adversely affect the ecological integrity of an adjoining forest reserve. Then so what is that forest reserve we are talking about? In other words, even whilst we have, pursuant to paragraph 1 of EI 144, granted the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest to the Owoo family, we have inserted this clause 3, that 1, they can't take possession of it, 2, they can't put up any physical infrastructure on it, unless the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, acting on the recommendation of the Forestry Commission, is satisfied that the physical infrastructure they are going to put on it will not compromise the Achimota Forest. So that if the Owoo family people grant leases to people, and somebody says, I'm going to build a factory on the lease, that will generate so much noise. You can imagine that all the birds in the Achimota Forest will leave.
So that will compromise the forest. So something like that will be disallowed.
Will be disallowed. That will compromise the ecological integrity of the Achimota Forest. If somebody wanted to put up a mercury processing factory, and the mercury can seep into Achimota Forest, and some of the trees will then begin to die, we will say no. So whatever infrastructure we put even on this land, which has been granted to them, because we want to protect our Achimota Forest and preserve the ecological integrity of Achimota Forest, we inserted clause 3, that whatever building they are going to put there, whatever development, first of all, the land use and spatial planning, which is town and country planning, must satisfy that it is in conformity with the plan of the area. Number 2, the Forestry Commission must interrogate the architectural designs and the building that is going to be put there to be satisfied that that building will not compromise the ecological integrity of the Achimota Forest. Paul, it doesn't end there. Just a second. Look, when we amended the CAP 157, the 1930 promulgation, when we amended it, in fact, in my office, there was a big debate among the lawyers as to what other step we take. And the Attorney General's office, of course.
What other step you take about what?
Some took the view that once you, and I don't particularly disagree with them, once you amended the CAP 157 1930 promulgation and you had a schedule, and the schedule is what you have declassified as a forest reserve, the remainder automatically remains a forest reserve. But out of but that's not an erroneous legal position to take. That's not erroneous.
But if you say this is not forest reserve, the remainder is forest reserve.
But Paul, guess what? Out of the abundance of caution, and because we wanted to be 100% certain that the Achimota Forest is casting iron, and that it's not compromised, that nobody can ever compromise the integrity of the Achimota Forest, we went out of our way to promulgate EI 154, Executive Instrument 154, which is titled Forest Achimota Firewood Plantation Forest Reserve Amendment Instrument 2022, And please, it's not a long EI. Just let me read it verbatim. And it says, quote, whereas under Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, the President may constitute an area of land as a forest reserve. Whereas under the Forest, Achimota Firewood Plantation Forest Reserve Order, 1930, Order number 31 of 1930, issued pursuant to Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, the government constituted a parcel of land containing an approximate area of 1,185 acres or 479 hectares as a forest reserve. Whereas following a petition submitted to the office of the President, the then President John Mahama on 5th September 2013 gave executive approval for the conversion of a portion of the forest reserve into an ecotourism facility and the release of the peripheral portions of the forest reserve which have been adversely impacted by human activities to the Owoo family, the owners of the land, before the acquisition of the land for use as a forest reserve. Whereas the President of the Republic, now President Akufo Addo, is satisfied that the remaining portion of the land specified in the schedule should remain as a forest reserve. And whereas the President of the Republic is satisfied that the ecological integrity of the land specified in the schedule should be protected. Now therefore, in exercise of the power conferred on the President by Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, this instrument is made this 21st day of April 2022. Declaration of land remaining as forest reserve. 1. The land specified in the schedule to this instrument is declared to remain as a forest reserve. That's the Achimota Forest. Protection of the ecological integrity of land remaining as forest reserve. 2. A person shall not carry out any physical development on any adjoining land that is likely to adversely affect the ecological integrity of the land specified in the schedule. So EI 154 is actually an overkill to ensure that the Achimota Forest is protected and its ecological integrity is protected.